You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Bulldogs podcast. I am Daniel.
The three amigos back at it again. I'm Clint. And for those who don't know, this is John Tweets Sport. John, how you doing, man?
I'm fantastic. Doing amazing today. Glad to be back with you fine gentlemen, to talk about the 7-0 number one ranked Georgia Bulldogs.
Yes.
Say it again.
Doesn't that sound good? To talk about
again.
the 7-0 number one ranked Georgia Bulldogs. Unanimously number one ranked. Not a vote in any poll for any other team as the number one team in the country.
How could there have been?
Georgia Bulldogs.
How could there have been?
That's a great question, Daniel.
Couldn't have been. Hey, if you do the podcast, new to YouTube, glad you're here. Glad you found us. We are fans, and we have fans on the podcast with us because we just like being fans. It's better to be fans than anything else. And certainly
let me stop you right there. What if you're a Tennessee fan though?
Well,
is that better?
I can't help you from making stupid decisions in life, people. Okay, that's
some poor Tennessee fan could not put mustard on their Oscar Mayer today for their Sunday lunch because it was laying on the field at Neyland Stadium
because they tried to hit Lane Kiffin in the shin with it. Like that was their goal. Like if I could just
yes.
Which by the way, we would never condone throwing objects onto the field. We never want to celebrate that in any way.
Never.
Tennessee fans are the worst. But how did he hit Lane Kiffin with that golf ball? Have you all thought about that? Like, how did he made contact? He or she could have been. I don't know who it was.
Could have been. I don't know.
That person made contact with Lane Kiffin with a Titleist. That's unbelievable.
That guy probably was an all-star on the intramural baseball team for like the Knoxville Community College that he attended for a few months.
Look, I know, and you said intramural. There is a church league softball that has fights every single Saturday, and that guy's leading the charge of chest bumping the umpire on a called third strike.
Absolutely.
If Coach would have put me in that fourth quarter, we would have taken state. I swear, we would have taken state.
Oh, it's fun being a fan of UGA football, and that's what we're here to talk about. This podcast is for fans by fans. You call us a homer, we take it as a compliment because we love them dogs. So glad you're here on the podcast. We're not gurus or insiders by any stretch of the imagination. We want your fandom to increase as ours increases as well.
Yeah, welcome to the podcast. If you're new, subscribe. If you're on YouTube right now, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Drop us a comment, hit thumbs up, whatever you want. And also go check out the audio podcast. You can subscribe to the audio wherever the podcasts are found. So if you are on the go or want to listen to the show rather than watch it on a particular day, you can have it on your phone as well. We appreciate those subscriptions. We appreciate those ratings and reviews that you give us. We appreciate all the retweets and the shout outs. Follow us on Twitter at Dawgs Podcast. Follow John on Twitter at John Tweets Sports. There's no H in his name because he doesn't need it. Why would he?
Because I'm efficient like the Georgia offense.
He doesn't need it.
Need no fluff.
Doesn't need any fluff. He doesn't need any silent letters in his name. Okay, John Tweets Sports. Go follow him. And then we're glad that you're here. Email us lockedonbulldogs@gmail.com is another way that you can get in touch with us. Thanks for listening, subscribing, all those good things. John, let's talk about this Kentucky game. Clint and I were here yesterday, and we were talking all about it. We'd love to get your thoughts and your opinions on the Georgia-Kentucky game. Obviously, Georgia takes care of business. Kentucky wins the national championship in the late seconds of the game. I don't know if you saw that, but we commented yesterday in the podcast. Kudos to them for winning the national championship, celebrating in the end zone, the greatest moral victory in the history of sports. And so don't know if you have thoughts about that, but cheers to Kentucky.
Well, that last drive was the biggest moment in Kentucky football in at least the last 70 years. Maybe ever. They did, but in at least the last 70 years.
That sounds like a burn, but that's just fact. These are facts. These are.
I don't know that I'm even joking. That was that cover.
Yeah.
And the timeout by Mark Stoops.
Listen, there's a booster somewhere. Somewhere there's a booster that was texting Mark Stoops. You got to get this touchdown. I got 100 large on this cover. You got to punch this in. Mark Stoops knows where the bread is buttered, and so kudos to him. Let's talk about this Georgia offense against this Kentucky defense. You mentioned efficiency earlier. What did you see from the Georgia offense, John?
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough to be at the game, which is always exciting because you feel like you're watching kind of the all 22, film version of the game. Yep. I think for me this was the best defense that Georgia has played in terms of what Kentucky came in trying to do. I felt like that Kentucky, they had a good game plan. They had some good players. They were missing a couple of key players on the defensive line, but they came out and their goal was there were plenty of times they were putting 8 people in the box trying to stop the run. They were trying to get some man-to-man matchups on players to kind of force Georgia to do some different things, and it just none of it really worked. I think early on you had Stetson Bennett struggling a little bit with some accuracy on some balls. You had some things that I felt like were in Kentucky's favor, but as the game went on, Georgia started finding success, and really that offensive line, I think, whether it was injuries on the Kentucky defensive line or more appropriately just more talent on the Georgia offensive line, started imposing its will, especially on first down. So Georgia averaged 8 yards per carry on first down runs yesterday. I mean, which is just insane. Yeah. I think Georgia rushed for this is a real stat. I believe I need to confirm it officially, but I think Georgia rushed for 166 yards, and I think 150 something of those were on first down, which is just kind of nuts. That's nuts. 19 carries for 154 yards, I believe, is what it was on first down. And so when you are running the ball 8 yards on average on first down, that sets you up in a good position. Yeah.
Hold up. That's insane. I'm sorry. I don't think football fans that's insane, because what that just means is, first of all, they know it's coming. Okay. Secondly, there's nothing you could do about it. Third, you have your entire arsenal for the whole rest of the drive. You
second short, third and short for days. Yeah.
For days. And what ended up happening is, Monken started calling these matchup challenges with Kentucky. So they had some success early. Stetson, wasn't quite accurate early on. But once that run game started getting cranking, you started getting them in second, third, and short. You started having matchup problems for Kentucky, and things like putting a 5'10" DB on Brock Bowers running the wheel route in the second quarter, and Stetson Bennett throwing a dime into the wind. It was truly, really great to watch once things got rolling for the offense. One key note that I saw was Georgia only ran from scrimmage 47 offensive plays that were actually run. I went back and looked at that number because I'm a curious guy, as most of that follow me on Twitter. As I'm curious about the numbers.
Got spreadsheets for days. He's got a spreadsheet to organize his spreadsheets.
Yeah. So 47 plays was the fewest plays from scrimmage that Georgia has run since 2017 versus Florida. So almost 4 full years.
It's a long time.
Saturday was the fewest plays that Georgia has run on offense. Now, part of that was because Kentucky did their own kind of, death march there at the end of the game for their own demise, because you're down 23 and you're going to take 12. Yep. You're going to take 12 minutes off the clock and run 22 plays, and you're down by 23.
But John, but we scored the most points
But we
Georgia's ever
covered.
given up all year.
Only lost by 17, John. We only lost by 17 points. That's a fantastic point.
Yeah.
Yesterday, Clint and I said the Kirby Death March happened with James Cook, Kendall Milton, and Zamir White in the second, third quarters. Kind of the whole second, third quarters was kind of a big Kirby Death March.
Yeah.
But you might be right. The Kirby Death March might have Kirby might have gone Inception on us with the Death March, and he might have actually convinced Mark Stoops to do the Kirby Death March at the end of the game. That's next level. That's unbelievable.
It was next level.
That's like my kids. Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself.
Yeah. But the offense, right? The matchups. Kentucky, started putting DBs man to man on Brock Bowers. Did not work. Georgia 8.9 yards per play, only 47 plays, but when you hold a team to 13 and 6 of those coming in the last 3 seconds of the game, you don't have to run a lot of plays or score a lot of points, right? That's what we're finding out about this team. I do think when I look at it, I loved seeing Brock Bowers back in action. I loved, we had those couple of games early in the year where Brock was lighting up the stat sheet, and I loved seeing the complexity of the way Todd Monken was using Brock Bowers, was running motion, was putting him in matchup situations and just forcing the defense to, are you really going to play man-to-man with that guy on Brock? Then you're going to get beat. And so that was really exciting to watch, on top of the success of running on first down. You do those kinds of things, and it's just going to be very hard to lose. It's
very hard to lose. You're setting yourself up for such success. I got a question coming out of this break. We're going to let you know about a couple things first, but I want to let you know about Locked On sponsor, Prize Picks. College football fanatics, have you heard about Prize Picks? Prize Picks is daily. I don't know if you understand what daily is, but it means, like every single day, Daniel. That's what it means.
The amount of times that Florida fans wish that Dan Mullen was no longer their coach.
No. Just stop putting that filth into their mind.
It's already there, Clint. But they can't get rid of him, Clint.
They can't. No, they can't. Prize Picks offers more college football props than anybody else in the world. Star players or Power 5 or outside of Power 5, they're all there. Prize Picks offers any prop you can think of: yardage, touchdowns, fumbles, even interceptions thrown. All the users right now that we send over there can get 100% deposit, up to $100, by using the promo code Locked On. You pick 2 to 5 players on the over/under of the projections. You can win up to 10 times on any entry. It's fast. It's efficient. It is safe. They have an award-winning app, Google Play and App Store, and they allow cross-sports placements. Don't hesitate. Check out prizepicks.com. Use promo code Locked On, or go to the App Store and download the app today.
Also want to tell you about Rock Auto, another sponsor of this episode of the podcast. They are the only place that you should ever even consider going to get every part that your car will ever need. Daniel. The full mustache of auto parts retailers. Why would you go to a chain auto parts store where you're going to walk in and ask for something, and some teenager with peach fuzz is going to tell you that they have to order it from the warehouse, when you could just go to rockauto.com and buy that same part that they're going to order for the warehouse for less money and have it shipped straight to your door? That's what you could do right now at rockauto.com. Whether it's interior or exterior, mechanical or cosmetic, every part that your car will ever need can be found at rockauto.com at reliably low prices. Go there right now. Put Locked On in the How'd You Hear About Us section to guarantee that you're getting the exact right part for your car at a reliably low price from rockauto.com.
Here's my question to you, John. I think this was midway through the third quarter, I think at that point, but we had 7 or 8 yards or plays on offense that were over 20 yards. Kentucky had none. We had explosive plays. I think that's something you talked about, the efficiency of the offense.
Yeah.
And we're talking about efficient, but also explosive.
With their efficiency. Sure. Yeah, for sure.
Those two things normally don't go together.
Yeah.
But this offense is.
Yeah, I think coming into the game, I read that Kentucky had allowed 12 plays of 20-plus yards through 6 games, 12 total. Mm-hmm. Georgia had 9 of 20-plus yards in one game yesterday. And so I think, it's efficient and explosive. is Kirby should like put it on a wall with all of his, discipline, composure, toughness, connection, efficiency, explosiveness.
I mean, I
just
think they
throw
just
those
call
two.
that. I think they just call that winning when you are
Winning.
efficient and explosive. That's like
It's just winning.
we do it better than you, and we do it every time we need to do what we need to do. So like that's this Georgia offense. It's
fun to watch.
It seems almost unfair to stop, to your point, because you got Brock Bowers out there, and he's a weapon, and then you've got Darnell Washington out there at the same time, also a weapon. You've got this running game. You can't lay back in zone. You can't take everybody out of the box and lay everybody back in coverage. But then you try to play man to man against some of these, even the wideouts, but much less the tight ends. I mean, who are you going to match up? Who are you going to match up against? I had a Kentucky fan earlier in the week try to tell me that Inigo Montoya or whoever that guy is, the six-fingered man that they're trying to run out there, trying to tell me that guy was an athletic enough linebacker to cover these tight ends. And I just smiled and said, okay, we'll see. And it just, there's too many weapons on this team. Clint and I have been saying it for weeks, John, but it's the difference between this Georgia offense and other years Georgia offenses. It's not the running backs. We've had better running backs than this crew. It's not the quarterbacks. We've had better quarterbacks than this crew. As good as Stetson and JT have played this year, we've had better quarterbacks probably than this crew. But we've never had guys like this on the outside in such plurality.
Agreed.
It's a big time advantage for Georgia moving forward. It just feels like we can score as many points as we need to score in any game. That's the feeling you get, right?
Agree. Yeah, and it's also that feeling that when you run things like 13 personnel, one running back, three tight ends on the field, you create matchup problems that Georgia. It reminds me a little bit, and I want everyone to hear me. I'm not comparing this Georgia offense with 2020 Alabama or 2019 LSU, but the matchup problems that are created remind me a little bit of what those teams that have been historically obliterating people over the last couple of years did, right? Like, you had matchup problems on the field, and that's why, Alabama and LSU would carve you up. And Georgia is doing a similar thing with tight ends, with a running back, putting a James Cook out wide and getting him out in space, with those types of players. And it's just really difficult. And I agree with your point. Like, I think you can score as much as you need to, and that's kind of this team's identity at this point. It's it can be flashy. We've seen that this year, or it can be real efficient and beat you still by 3 scores or more.
Yeah, absolutely. And you got, there's so much we could talk about this offense. Maybe let's switch over to the defense. We talked about yesterday on the podcast, certainly not the best day rushing the passer that Georgia had ever had. I thought the Kentucky offensive line, we mentioned yesterday, really held up well in pass pro, which I think everyone in the country would have said was not their strength. Great run blocking offensive line, not the best pass pro offensive line. But I thought they really held up well. I thought the offensive coordinator, Clint, made the point, mitigated a lot of the pass rush with a lot of quick stuff to the outside. But
the game of his life.
Called every trick play he had in the first half. I literally, talking to my Kentucky friend, was like, what do you got left for the second half? Like, that's it. That's the bag. You just called the bag of tricks to score that touchdown in the first half. Literally every one you had. And so, but that being said, not the best day for pass rush. We let him in the end zone 2 times. And yet at the end of the day, you still walk away from that defense, John, thinking like, wow, these guys are really freaking good.
Yeah. And how great is it that we feel disappointed that we gave up 13 points, that we let a team in the end zone twice? When you see, Alabama Alabama gave up 41 to Texas A&M. Florida gave up 49 to LSU. And we're sitting here and we're like, we let him in the end zone twice.
13
So it wasn't the
points.
best. So it wasn't the best day. Like, can we just, so Chris Rodriguez averaging 128, yards a game coming into this game. Had
Normally
seven, leading the SEC in all, the rushing statistical categories. Had 7 yards on 7 carries. So I sat in section 127, row 48, seat 12.
Humble brag here.
Aisle.
Just, come on.
That's what that was.
You can't hide money. You can't.
They were great seats.
You can't.
I'm not gonna lie.
Clint, you can't hide money.
You can't.
Great seats.
It shows out.
But from the aisle, when I went down into the section to row 48, from the aisle to seat 12, for me to walk there and get to my seat was longer than the 21 feet that Chris Rodriguez ran for against the Georgia defense, the leading SEC rusher. I did more work getting to my seat than Chris Rodriguez did against the Georgia defense.
Y'all realize that, like when we say that, he got, I think, 6 yards or 5 yards on the first carry.
On the first carry of the game. And ended up with 7 yards rushing. So
but the sack yards are taken out of that. Kirby wants you to know. Oh wait, no, not for Chris Rodriguez. They're not. No, Kirby. Sorry, Kirby. It just turns out you're very good. So just stop trying to downplay it and just acknowledge.
Kirby tried to downplay it. That Georgia gave it 1.9 yards per rush. If you take out the sack yards, Georgia gave up 2.7 yards per rush. So thank you. So thanks, Kirby. Let's not, we won't read the rat poison and say you only gave up 1.9 yards.
Guess what, Kirby? Yeah. It's still 4th down if you take that average and extrapolate out over 3 downs because it's still.
Yeah. So I think it's important for people to know, like, Cohen, the offensive coordinator for Kentucky, is really, really good. The guy comes from the Sean McVay coaching tree. He was using motion. They were doing, the hook and lateral. They were just throwing things. And so I think, I saw someone on Twitter, I think it was Matt Hinton, that tweeted that if you empty the playbook, if you run a couple of trick plays, if you get a few calls to go your way, and you do all of these things, then you can score on the Georgia defense once, right? so that's where we are, and I just I do think at the end of the game, it was a concession drive, like 22 plays, 12 minutes, you're down by 23. I felt like Kentucky was unloading the playbook just to see, like, all right, can we score? And the answer is yes. If you're in the 7th game of the year and you're going to go out there and you're going to unload your playbook on a defense, there's a good chance that you're probably going to score, even with the Georgia defense. And
this just in, Kentucky. Like, I hope that was fun for you, because now you have people got game film on every single play you want. Like, you just told everybody, here's what we're desperately trying to do. We'll use anything. Y'all got it out there for all the public to see, in front of God and everybody. Like, that's on all you. The public.
22 plays. You took 1 shot down the field, and used all your motion, used all your bag of tricks, and we still blocked the extra point. So I'm just going to throw that out there. The defense still blocked the extra point. Like, you talk about playing till the whistle. Like, this defense, I think I think we can all say, like, how spoiled we are with what other defenses are doing compared to this one. That blocked extra point was for me the play of the game, because the Georgia defense was like, okay, yeah, you scored. We're still not conceding. We are not conceding a single point. I don't care if it's a field goal. I don't care if it's an extra point with 4 seconds left in the game and we're winning by 17. You are not getting that point. And that was a fantastic feeling.
It's beautiful. All right, we got more to talk about with John. I got some big picture questions to ask him. I got some. I'm gonna sneak a Stetson Bennett question past him. We're gonna see what we can talk about here in segment 3. First, Clint is gonna tell you about this.
SweatBlock is doctor created, doctor recommended. It works out for 7 days per use. It's dry shirt guarantee. If SweatBlock doesn't keep you dry, you get your money back. Bestseller on Amazon for the past 10 years with over 13,000 reviews. That is 13,000 reviews. It was on Rachel Ray with firefighters, talking about in front of God and everybody, in front of firefighters and TV and cameras, whole thing. And it's manufactured right here in the US of A. Wear what you want. It's your little secret of confidence. This is a must-have to have in your toiletry bag. Head over there right now, over to SweatBlock.com. Promo code LOCKEDON gets you 20% off your entire order, or at Amazon and CVS, respectively. SweatBlock.com.
All right. John, I want to ask you some big picture questions about this team now 7 weeks into the season, headed into the bye week, headed into this home stretch of the college football season. First, want to get thoughts about Stetson Bennett, about his role on this team. Obviously, nobody knows if, JT Daniels' heads have fallen off and what, we don't know what's happening with him. We never will.
He's coming
know
back
what's
for next year, right? Like that's going to happen.
It's firmly established that he's either transferring or he's coming back for next year.
Okay, good.
Anyway, your thoughts about how Stetson Bennett played. You mentioned obviously early in the first half, didn't play great. He tended to settle in, and really just your thoughts, big picture. Let me just toss you this hypothetical. Let's say Stetson Bennett, because I know how you think Stetson Bennett played on Saturday. He's fine. That's blah, blah, blah. That's boring podcast.
Yep.
Let's say Stetson Bennett plays and starts every game for the rest of the season for Georgia. How do you feel about this team's ability to get where it wants to go?
I think other folks have said it this way, and so I don't want to be cliche, but I still feel this way. I think Stetson Bennett can win you some games. I'm still not convinced that if you put it on his shoulders that he can win, that he can go out and win a game. If let's say, the apocalypse happens and the Georgia defense gets behind a couple of scores. He hasn't been tested in that way. And I think I still believe in order to win in college football and in 2021 that you have to stretch the field vertically. You have to have somebody who can make reads and throw the ball deep. And I think Stetson has, some talent to do that. I don't think he's I don't want this to come across as not being confident in Stetson Bennett, because the guy is a freaking warrior. But I don't think Georgia has seen the type of team that they are going to see in December, that they're going to see in early January. And it'd be real nice to have JT Daniels and some reps back there to be ready for those games.
I think that's totally fair. I think that's the sentiment that we might all agree with. We don't want to play the what if game, but we want to also say, if Stetson's there, we can feel comfortable. I'm not confident. I'm comfortable seeing what he's done, especially watching him have the connection to Ladd and AD and Brock downfield. Like you said, you have to have those shots in there. Without those shots, they're just going to sit on something.
Yeah, so it's just the question of, can he win you a game?
There it is.
And I don't know. Yeah, and go for it. Sorry. Yeah.
Well, let me just ask it this way, because this is how I feel. Now, listen, these are two totally separate issues.
Yep.
Oh.
Do I want Stetson Bennett to start another game this season for Georgia? The answer is no. I want JT to be healthy, and I want JT to start. That's clear. Well, that has nothing to do with Stetson Bennett. It has nothing to do with the disrespect of Stetson Bennett. I like a lot of players on this Georgia team. Don't want him to start any games for the rest of the season. It's not an indication of how I feel about them as football players.
Sure.
So that's true. But let's just throw out teams.
Okay.
Alabama, Ohio State, Oklahoma. Anybody else you want to throw in there? Contenders? Let's call them contenders.
Cincinnati.
I said contenders.
Look,
Sorry.
You
It's
put
my ears
respect
are breaking up.
Respect on Fickle's name now.
Okay. Oklahoma, Ohio State, Alabama, John. These are the teams we're talking about. Any of those teams. I mean, I'll go 20.
Yeah.
Can any of those teams break 20?
I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say no. And I will back up and say, last week I sat here and looked you guys in the eyes and said I didn't think anybody in the rest of the regular season could score more than 10 on this Georgia defense. And Kentucky went out and put up 13.
They did.
The way that they had to get
13 piece on you. Just went out just right on your head.
But the way that they had to do it, they had to concede the game to score more points than I said was possible against the Georgia defense. I don't think Ohio State can do it. I think you saw, Oregon go in there, and Oregon, gave up, whatever it was, 28 points, but gave up some stuff late. And Oregon's defense is not in the same stratosphere as Georgia's. I think you saw what Florida's defense did to Alabama. You saw what Texas A&M defense did to Alabama, and Alabama was able to start stretching the field, and those guys start doing some things to get back in the game. But neither one of those defenses are in the same stratosphere. And so when you look at it on the whole, the one that scares me a little bit is Caleb Williams from Oklahoma, because that kid is fearless. But I don't think that they played. I don't think that they played. You saw Texas get beat by Oklahoma State this past weekend, and again, like, when you think about it that way, I don't think the quarterback position is as important to Georgia as it has been for some of these other national championship teams. And
for
I think
any other team in the country,
any other team in the country this year, or the national championship teams of 2020, of 2019, of 2018 with Trevor Lawrence. Like, you go back and look, the quarterback position is not as important as it has been for the last at least three national champions who had Trevor Lawrence, who had Joe Burrow, who had Mac Jones. This Georgia team doesn't need that, and so you think about it that way. And I think Stetson, Stetson is a guy to do that. I just, for me, it's there is that kind of in the back of your mind. If he has to win you a game, can he do it? And personally, let me tell you, I would love to see it. Like, I would love to see the Stetson Bennett story play out, with Stetson Bennett leading Georgia to a national championship, going out and dropping, a 40 piece on Ohio State's head and packing a fat lipper on the side.
Oh my gosh!
Like,
be the most glorious picture in the.
I would just put her jaw in and doing the finger guns. Like, I would love that to be the end of the story.
Lip hammer for the win.
So when you talk about it, like, Georgia doesn't need the quarterback that other teams have needed, and I think that's an important point.
It's a Joe Flacco situation, guys. I don't know how to say it any other way. It's a straight Joe Flacco situation.
The deal is, we don't have Joe Flacco. We have a JT Daniels. I get we want to play this.
None of that. Obviously, we want JT to play, but Stetson can score 21 against any of those teams. That's my point. I would bet my house that Stetson can score 21 against any of those teams. And if you're telling me they can't get above 20, well, we win the game. So we win the game, and then we win.
And here's the other thing. This game reminded me of something. We had commented the defensive line didn't get the pressure we thought it would, and hasn't done historically this season. And do you know who showed out in this game? Three players come to mind. Nakobe Dean in coverage showed out. Keely Ringo showed out. And Lewis Seen was Lewis Seen in this game. Now, again, where was our pass? We thought our pass defense might be a little suspect. Yeah.
So
not at all.
One thing to keep in mind, though, like, when you go back and watch the film, Georgia was only rushing 4 a lot of times. And that's, I think again, the spoiled syndrome, we are used to 3 getting home, right? And you throw a 4th in there, you're like, there's no way. Like, if we're rushing 3, somebody's going to get there. If you throw a 4th in there, we're definitely going to get there. But Georgia was dropping back, and I think they were expecting Kentucky to try to go deep more than Kentucky did, and because they were trying to take that away. So that's important too, I think. But man, those 3 you listed, Lord, I saw one NFL analyst said, I'm watching the Georgia defense on the flight home. He was on a plane this morning, and he said, go ahead and draft them all. Like he was like, just draft everybody.
We texted middle of the game. We texted the middle of the game, and we said Devontae Wyatt now a second rounder in our mind. In our estimation, Devontae Wyatt's going to be the steal of the draft.
Listen, that athleticism and quickness that Devontae Wyatt has, like that's not an NFL plod along average defensive lineman that you're looking at. That's an NFL star player that you're looking at.
A lot of a little bit bigger version of Grady Jarrett. Like if you watch Grady Jarrett,
exactly the comp I was going to give. Yep,
man,
exactly the comp I was going to give. Yeah, that NFL analyst said, "Look, I don't know who that 47 is out there, but I'll even take him. I'll take him too."
He tweeted it. I'll retweet it for the people. Y'all go check the timeline. He tweeted it. He was like, "Draft them all." I was like, "Dan Jackson." Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. That's fine.
That's beautiful. All right, John. Listen. Plug yourself for the people. We didn't give you an opportunity to do this last time. Where can people find you? Anything that you are putting out there that people need to check out who are listening to the pod?
Yeah, the easiest way is John Tweet Sports, JON Tweet Sports on the Twitter machine. That's where I push anything and everything that any podcast that I'm on or anything I'm putting out. You can find it there.
Fantastic. He's a great follow. We wouldn't have him on the podcast if he wasn't. So hit him up on there. Tell him that you enjoyed looking at what a fashionable guy too, John. What a fashionable John, just an epic fashion sense that this guy had. He just has a knack for it, you know? You love to see it. Not everybody in his family, I'm told, has the same gift, but John, we're happy to have you here on the podcast. Should be a light day editing, so we should be good to go there. And so thanks for coming back on.
Great.
Really enjoyed it. Clint and I will be back tomorrow. I think we got another guest tomorrow, Clint. You
just bring in people left and right. Daniel. You just handed out the keys. The door's not even open. You've just taken it off the hinges.
I shot up a flare and said, look, if you can see this, come be on the podcast. And so I think some people have responded. Yeah, hopefully it works out. If it does, you're going to enjoy it, dog fans.
Who's going to be here tomorrow?
I can't.
It's not confirmed yet. Okay.
It's confirmed, but it's not. Yeah, well, let's let it be a pleasant surprise.
Listen, he doesn't want to do as much editing as he normally has to do when I'm on, so he's just not.
That's right. That's right. I don't want to have to edit that out. Thank you.
Good.
Starts with a K, ends with an Irby, but we'll just see. We'll see if things work out. All right, we'll be back tomorrow. John, it's a pleasure as always. John will be back soon. We can't do the podcast without him. We're dependent at this point. So we'll see you guys later this week.